Pop culture is messy. Digging deep inside to get to the guts of it, even messier. Precision and keen concentration are necessary requirements in any surgical team. Meet your surgeons for POPeration, the podcast. Eric Peterson and Stacey Fearheiley. What they lack in training and skill, they make up for in, I'm sure there's something.
So hey, this is POPeration.
POPeration? What is POPeration?
I'm so glad you asked. So we came up with this name based on the old...
Is this a podcast?
It is.
Okay.
It is a podcast with two clever, charming, funny people.
Yeah.
I'm Eric. You're Stacey.
I am Stacey.
And
so what is POPeration?
POPeration. Remember that game where you kind of have to take the funny bone out of the arm and not cause the nose to the operation game. So we're doing that, but we're taking a scalpel to pop culture, if you will. We are dissecting pop culture. One bloody organ at a time.
Bloody organ at a time. Possibly the only reason that we took this name. Because of that tagline. Yes. Yeah, but why? And I guess the question is then why? Why? There are 8,000 gajillion, and that is a real number, by the way, podcasts out there.
Yep.
And 4,000 gajillion, another real number, are about pop culture. So what up, Eric?
Well, here's the deal. I think, and I think you think too, tell me if I'm wrong, that pop culture is actually really important. It's really frivolous. It can seem that way. It's really fun. I will not deny that it's really entertaining.
I think people sometimes think it's the cotton candy of society.
Yeah, it can be. Well, and when I say pop culture, I'm talking about movies that are pure escapism as well as movies that win all the Oscars. I mean, because I like both of those.
Well, I think you have to separate the words. It's popular culture.
Yeah.
And I think that too often we just go pop culture, and everybody just thinks of big bubbles that pop and they're nothing, and the Kardashians, something that's frivolous, that it doesn't linger, and it doesn't necessarily have an effect on anything. But if you really separate it as to popular culture, you then have to go in, speaking of dissecting, and figure out what makes it popular, and also what makes it culture.
Yeah. Well, the culture is, that. This is the water we swim in, right? I mean, that's what culture is all about. So this is stuff that affects the culture. It's a reflection of our culture back to us. And so even if it is silly and stupid, Star Wars is hugely popular 20th century.
And you don't have to be a geek or even need to be somebody who watches Star Wars or has seen any movie or has read any book about it to understand that it has an impact on our society.
And for most people, Star Wars is about, overthrow, lightsabers and
good versus evil.
But it's also about overthrowing a fascist regime. I mean, it's about politics, and it's just it's actually, war is actually right there in the title.
Correct.
And, and so it actually is about something, even though we don't go to it because we want a political treatise. We want some escapism. We want to see a girl in a metal bikini chained to a giant slug.
Okay.
For some reason.
That was one,
She was there for a reason. George Lucas knew what she was doing.
Yes.
He put Carrie Fisher in that metal bikini for a very good reason.
It wasn't a bad idea for publicity. So.
And it's about freedom. I mean, it's about this authoritative, oppressive regime. And if you put the resistance and the empire on the right-wing, left-wing binary, they have places there.
Correct.
So it's saying something to ourselves about ourselves.
And that tells us, and that's exactly the thing. So why dissect it? Why even go into it? And I think it's important that we, see who we are, figure out, why we are where we are. How did we get where we are?
Yeah.
And if we want to go in a different direction, say, okay, how can we do that? But if we don't, say, how can we, not go in a different direction, stay where we are, or stay on this particular path?
Yeah. Or make America great again,
and,
if you will.
OMG. Hashtag MAGA. Hashtag MAGA. But I think that's why it's not only it's a fun thing to do to sit there and just kind of dive deep into all of the whys and intricacies, but I think it's also important so that if there is a mistake there's just some reason, or if there is some message that's out there that we're seeing a lot of, to go, wait a minute, what is that message? Why are we getting it from so many different places? Maybe we need to take a harder look at this, and maybe this is something that we need to address as a society or a culture. So I think that's kind of answers, what is this? Why are we here? What are we doing? What do we hope to do?
Yeah.
And I think we hope to do it in an entertaining and fun kind of way.
Well, we're funny people. We're charming and witty.
We are charming and witty.
There you
and
go.
I think that we want to hashtag that. Dear God. So anyway, then you'd have to go to, but yeah, that's fine that that's what you want to do, Eric and Stacey, but who the hell are you?
Okay, who are you?
I grew up in the 70s and 80s and very aware of pop culture, but I will tell you why this is something that was because I grew up with my dad and he was very into movies and television, so I went to a lot of movies, but it wasn't just going to see the movies. After the movie, or if it was during Saturday morning when we watched those awful movies that were free that UHF and VHF channels could air, we would sit there and we would do
God, you're old.
Shut up! Anyway, yes, I am. What? And I lived it. So anyway, point being, before MS23K, Mr. Science Theater 3000, that's what my father and I would do. We would sit there, and during those bad movies on Saturday morning, we would totally tear them up. But also, after any movie or television show that we would see, we would then analyze the absolute hell out of it. I mean, from the acting, to the directing, to the camera moves, to the interpretations of lines, to the, everything would be analyzed. And that's what I grew up doing. And frankly, unfortunately, it bleeds into everything else, and that I do overanalyze absolutely everything. And I'll be honest with you, everyone.
Well,
I'm kind of judgy. I like to think I'm judgy in a good way. But that's how I got to this, to where I thought that this would be a fun thing, an experiment for you and I to do.
Great.
On that.
So I'm Eric. And I grew up pop culture deprived in a lot of ways. I grew up as a Navy brat. I grew up on a series of military bases. Born in California, lived in Spain, Japan, Rhode Island, Hawaii, and Scotland. Went to school in Washington State, came out to the mid-Atlantic where we now both live. And on military bases, everything was 6 months late. So I didn't get the pop, and there's a lot of holes in my pop culture lexicon from the 70s and 80s. Like, you might say something that was really popular in the 70s, and I'll just look at you like you have two heads, because I missed it. Being overseas, we had one channel on TV. Everything was 6 months old or older. I hungered for it in a lot of ways, but I didn't get it, so that might be part of why I'm here. The other thing is that for whatever reason, in college, I had a hankering to join the arts community as a professional. I was a theater major, and came out, and that's how we met, which we'll talk about in a minute. Doing theater and eventually trying to make that a career. And then eventually joined the ranks of diversity and inclusion professionals, which I do today, which I think is a real interesting link between the arts and that.
Sure.
Meryl Streep said in her Golden Globes interview recently that, actors really, their job is empathy. Their job is to figure out who's different from me and how to become that person. And so I think art can teach us a lot about ourselves. It can teach us a lot about someone who's not like us. You can understand who someone else is based on music, books, TV, movies, all that kind of great stuff that we call pop culture. Yeah. The other thing that's part of my story that I think is informs why I want to do this. At the age of 25, I discovered and let the world know that I was a big old homosexual. You knew that before I did.
Yes.
Yeah.
We all did.
Yeah. I came to Stacey and I said, I'm gay, and she went, and the big news is, yeah, because we knew that.
Sorry. Ooh, awkward.
Now we can stop talking about you behind your back. This is much less awkward for me, actually. But here's a funny story. I met a couple of women who you know as well. I call them my adoptive lesbian moms. They brought me out to Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, which is a popular mid-Atlantic destination for the gay community. And I went to yes, and both the intersection of the Venn diagram of gay people and retirees is like gay and gray. So I went to a little soiree out in Rehoboth, and we met another friend of mine who I'd known for a while, but he was meeting the new gay version of me for the first time, and he said to me, Eric, I want you to take this sheet of paper and write down all the words you don't understand. And at the end of the night, you can come back and read them to me, and I'll explain them to you. And I got what he was saying, that I was new to this whole thing.
Right,
and I got
you
that.
took him literally.
But everyone around me howled like it was the funniest thing they'd ever heard, and I didn't get the joke. And actually, that line is from the first scene of Auntie Mame.
Okay.
When Mame meets her young nephew, Patrick, for the first time.
Right.
And all of a sudden it hit me, there's this whole culture that I don't know. Every gay person I thought at the time has seen Auntie Mame. What I know now is that hardly any gay people of my generation have seen Auntie Mame.
No, it was that you were in that generation.
They're all quoting the Golden Girls. And the gays who are younger than me are all quoting Mean Girls.
Correct.
So it's interesting thing about the gay community, which might be a future episode somehow, is that we reinvent the culture every single generation.
But that's gay culture, yes. But that's
it's a microcosm of the bigger culture.
We keep reinventing the same thing.
Yeah, but anyway, I gained a real appreciation for the older stuff. Mm-hmm. I felt that I now needed to see The Women, 1939, starring Norma Shearer and Joan Crawford. I needed to see All About Eve with Bette Davis and Marilyn Monroe. I needed to see Auntie Mame.
Right.
And all of the Boys in the Band.
Yep.
Which came out the year that I was born. Doesn't say much about gay men living today, although it kind of does. It's about this self-loathing thing that most of us don't want to admit.
Is that Bette Midler thing?
Oh, no. Boys in the Band is, it's this horribly depressing thing, but funny.
Reason number 42 why I haven't seen
bitchy. Oh, but it's bitchy. You would love it. Because there's just these 8 bitchy men who are at a birthday party, and they're gay, and it's the 70s, and so they live with a lot of shame, and they're unhappy, and they take it out on each other, and they're just, it's cutting, and but it's mean.
Okay.
But it's true.
So
like
there's
just something, and as the alcohol flows in the movie, it gets meaner and meaner and meaner.
Right. Yeah.
To the point where it actually starts to get a little disturbing. But if you're gay and you watch it, you can't deny that there's some truth in that.
There's connection.
Yeah. So again, an important mirror.
And I think that's the thing, is that the connection is trying to find the connection between where we are, who we are, maybe that's even more important, and why we are, and what our pop culture says about us. And it's kind of, we've always had fun kind of riffing together, and so that who we are, we met in a show.
Breakfast with Les and Bess
at the Montgomery Playhouse. I don't remember who wrote it.
The name of the author.
I apologize if you wrote it and you're listening now. Sorry. Sorry, not sorry.
Not our favorite show.
No, it was not. I did not care for the show. At the time you auditioned because it's a show.
Yeah.
But we were cast as neither Les nor Bess.
No. We were the children of Les and Bess. And Les and Bess, ironically were radio stars who would sit there in their kitchen, like I'm doing right now in my kitchen, with a microphone and record their radio show. And that's, my God, this is like a total turner.
You Les call and Bess me has come the name back. Of that actress who I'm not going to mention. I said, call me her name. I'll slap you.
We'll just call you Bess.
You can call me Bess. But Les was played by an absolutely dear friend of ours, the late great
Bill Hamlin,
who was a marvelous actor here in the Mid-Atlantic, and he did both professional and community theater, and he is sorely missed, but he played our dad, and he was absolutely fabulous.
Yeah. He birthed us.
But anyway, we played twins, and we got along really well. There is a bit of an age difference between us, not huge, less than a decade,
yes,
but more than 2.
But when you're in your 20s,
when you're in
early
20s,
30s, when I'm in my mid-20s, and you're in your,
it's a big number. But we hit it off really well, and have been very good friends, I like to think of, for since that time, and that's been, dear God, is it 20 years?
I think it's 20 years
that
we've known each other. Yeah.
Mother of God.
And we called ourselves the Womb Mates.
We call ourselves Womb Mates, and
we shared a womb. Get it? Get it?
See, we are witty and we are charming, and if we haven't proved it yet, we just did them right there. Hashtag Womb Mates. There you go. But I think our whole point is that we would get together for these conversations, and then sometimes there would be other people, like your moms would be there sometimes. And, the joke was, wouldn't it be great if, other people could join in on this? Because it is nice to have it as a dialogue.
Yeah.
So there is, we would like to have responses to what it is we're talking about and what it is we're saying, and other opinions. We're judgy, but at the same time open to other judges.
Sure.
So I guess...
we assess things fairly with a critical eye.
We like to say that we're fair and balanced.
Let's not use that hashtag. Let's not use that hashtag.
We'll be honest. Yes. We're fair and unbalanced. And sometimes unfair.
Probably.
But here's the thing. So maybe, scratch all of that. But
hashtag fair and balanced is not happening.
So, what we want to talk about is literally anything and everything that is in the popular culture, and how it may affect where we are, who we are, why we are, and what's going on. And that goes from anything from, I guess, reality TV, music, and we could hit some genres there, like holiday music. I know at some point we want to hit that.
Oh my God! Every December the holiday music playlist comes back.
And there's something to be said about that. There's something to be said about holiday movies as well. There's a reason that we have these things and we pull these suckers out every year. But, it was a reality TV, and I put reality in quotes because what is, what isn't, and what are some of the subgenres there. And, some of the new stuff that's coming out, we were talking about how, I have 2 daughters that are teenagers, and their pop culture icons are video, YouTube stars. And I don't know who they are, and yet they see them in a movie or a TV show, and there's blah, 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 and I'm like, wow. But there was no internet back in the day, and so some of the pop culture we talk about is in the past, but we also want to include that which is, coming up, because that's, a podcast is part of the new book.
Well, yeah, and some things are timeless. I mean, so if kids today are still watching The Wizard of Oz and Sound of Music, then clearly whatever messages are in those kind of films, we're still getting exposed to. It still leaves an imprint. And then there's all this new stuff,
Correct.
So, if you go to see a superhero movie, that's about, a vigilante who wears a bat suit, it's fun, it's escapist, but what is it saying about the world we live in? Do we wish that we had a Batman?
Right.
Is that wish fulfillment? Is it just, the state is law enforcement so, we can't trust them to the point that this is what we think the answer is?
Is there a biorhythm to this? Is there a biorhythm to the movies, what kind of movies we watch and what kind of music we listen to? Is, boy bands were really big for a while, then they weren't out. There weren't boy bands. And then they come back around, or girl groups come in, or, there's different kinds of these genres and subgenres and partial whatevers that come out, and there's a reason. There's a reason that all of it is either popular or it is being talked about.
Yeah.
And I think that's, we enjoy talking, clearly, and we enjoy talking to each other. And I think that's part of what we want to do, is just kind of be part of if it's a catalyst to a different conversation that you have with someone else, or if it's just, escapism and listening to us ramble bizarrely.
Well, it's just so I think that art is a mirror, right? I mean, we kind of see ourselves reflected in it. Art sometimes is also an engine, right? I mean, sometimes the art that is created actually moves the culture forward, and sometimes it just reflects what is already there. So, and being able to tell the difference, I think, is something that, sometimes requires a little bit of conversation.
Correct.
So, is Keeping Up with the Kardashians, is that just there because it's escapist and it's entertainment, and the girls who watch that show, are getting a message, and what's that message, and what's that doing to the culture?
Well, that's what it is. What is this popular culture? What are the messages of some of these things that are out there? And again, it goes down to when you go in and you say, why is it popular? Why was there a hole for it to fill? Yeah. And is this permanent, or is this just for now?
Yeah.
And do we want it to be permanent? And I think that, again, it's this an analytical conversation, and I think that's what we enjoy doing. But I don't think we're alone, and I think that's the whole point.
And I think we also like to have fun.
Correct. So, what else you gonna do?
Exactly.
What else you gonna do on a Saturday morning? But anyway, that's who we are. That's what it is. POPeration, because we are gonna what?
Dissect popular culture, one bloody organ at a time.
That's right. And it's gonna be bloody. So anywho, so I'm Stacey.
I'm Eric. It's POPeration.
Don't forget to subscribe and tune into POPeration. Check out our website at thepoperationroom.com. You can also follow us on social media at POPeration Room on Facebook and Twitter. Music provided by purpleplanet.com.